everybody. Welcome to yet another Amazon suspension trend video, trying to create more and more of these, given the numerous and various types of ASIN takedowns we're seeing, account suspension cases that sellers are unable to fix themselves, or unfortunately hiring one, sometimes more than one service to help them, where the service probably didn't really know what was going on and the seller is better off doing it themselves, or certainly better off bringing us in a little bit earlier. We could have fixed it for them earlier. Situations like the one I'm about to describe, where it's a bit bizarre, but we work primarily with private label brands. This was a brand that saw almost all of their ASINs shut down, restricted overnight. It was very sudden. Nearly 100% of their catalog was taken away. And of course, their sales ground to a halt immediately. Once again, trademark registered brand owner. They're in brand registry. They were running their own brand registry. That wasn't the issue. But for some reason, Amazon began treating them as if they had a brand registered designated agent that was a third-party seller or a reseller, or they just started asking them for authenticity proof as if they were resellers and asking them about their sourcing. I don't think they were just rooting around trying to figure out who their manufacturer was so that Amazon could create their own brand to compete with them. But they were losing $15,000 a day in sales because almost everything was down. They have all this inventory sitting in FBA. They're paying an arm and a leg to store all this inventory in FBA, of course. And this was what amounted to a brand registry hijacking of sorts, and what Amazon referred to as brand ID stamp errors, which was kind of a new one on us. We had heard about things like this. And so recently we didn't have a case study example like this, but now we do. So I wanted to share it with you today. In brief, it was a complex case, but I can boil it down to just a few minutes, because this could happen to you, where you get surprising and irrational requests from Amazon asking for compliance documentation or supply chain documentation, or asking you to prove that you're authorized to sell your own brand. I understand that a lot of sellers selling in the US who don't necessarily sell in other regional marketplaces elsewhere in the world don't understand how somebody can try to create an account in another, like Europe or the UK, another part of the world, another regional marketplace, and make themselves look like they're you, or try to set up brand registry for, let's say, Europe and make it look like they are you. Well, of course, the purposes of this is an anti-competitive attack. They're just trying to make waves and trip you up and create various ripples of disruption, right? So that you have ASIN suspended like this, or maybe they do something wild in a brand registry that looks like it's your brand overseas. Maybe they're trying to get your brand registry in the US revoked. There's all kinds of havoc that different types of competitors and attackers create or plan or strategize just to throw you off, because they don't expect you to know how to react. And black hat tactics like that have been going on for years. Amazon knows many of these tactics. They don't always know how to react to them, which is why a lot of sellers, unfortunately, are wasting time opening useless seller support cases, or calling account health reps, or just speaking to lower tier teams who have absolutely no idea how to handle something like this. Maybe the account annotations aren't making sense to them. They don't know how to troubleshoot it. They don't know how to advise you on it. They haven't been trained on it. And sometimes even beginning to fire off escalation emails to senior level management sometimes results in a manager at Amazon who doesn't understand it because they haven't been trained on it and they haven't seen the use case. Well, with what we do at e-commerce, Chris, naturally, we see almost every type of use case. And this is a common experience for us to see something wild, crazy, wacky. Obviously, we piece together the narrative quicker than a lot of brand owners and a lot of agency owners do, unless they've seen it repetitively in the past. And sometimes we get to the answer quicker than people at Amazon who have been delegated the escalation get to understand what's going on. So daunting to listen to, I know, but this concept of unauthorized access to brand registry, we've seen it before. This particular case with this particular seller, it was worse, but I think there are other situations where brands maybe have even solved it themselves with a few well-placed complaints, but they weren't as nuanced or complex as this particular case. the catalog reassignment that happened here, sometimes people being moved into a different category because there's some sort of parallel duplicate brand registry created. It confuses Amazon systems. It confuses Amazon teams and people. It often confuses brand owners. And in this case, once we started escalating it, we were able to get people at Amazon to understand the technical aspects to it. And I'm talking, of course, about emails sent from the primary email on the seller's account to various escalation targets at Amazon, simply to say, look, we can only see so much of this from the outside. You're going to have to help us do some digging to figure out what exactly is going on here, what the misunderstanding is, what the nature of this attack is. And not everyone at Amazon is familiar with abuse or working hand in hand with abuse prevention teams. Often there are multiple disciplines and multiple teams that get involved. Well, as you've probably heard by listening to me and others by now, Amazon teams aren't great at communicating with each other. There are more layers of misunderstanding that occur when different emails are sent between them, different tickets, different escalations are created, different people are assigned review of these escalations. So it really helps to have someone, largely in our experience, it's us doing it for you, but it helps to have somebody write the escalation up in such a way so that Amazonians will understand it quicker and more thoroughly, and nothing will be missed. Naturally, if you're experiencing it and living through this nightmare, you might have lots of useful details and lots of good info to share with Amazon, but you might be a little too close to it, a bit too subjective, maybe even angry or emotional about it, and you might not be the best reporter of the information, and you might not be sending it to the right place. You might not be describing it the right way. A lot of Amazon teams are kind of addicted to their own jargon and their own terminology. And if you come at it with outsider terminology or just a lack of understanding of that jargon, then you might create additional delays with confusion and information that doesn't make sense to some of those teams. So that's where we come in. That's where we can be helpful. That was really how we got to the crux of the matter here, which was this brand ID stamp issue or brand stamp status. We had different teams refer to it in different ways. Ultimately, this other brand registry, this phantom ghost or attacker brand registry, had to be delinked or decoupled from the account that we were working on. And through the escalation process, sometimes you wind up escalating it to executives. This was possible. And we did get a quick response because we did kind of a multi-pronged strategy. Multiple escalations were sent in within hours of having us brought in to handle it. We were blessed with fortune from the Amazon side because they did understand the nature of the problem after we had phrased it certain ways. They did respond quickly, and we managed to get all ASINs reinstated all in one go, which meant from start to finish, from our assessment when we were hired to the appeal writing, and of course any Q&A with the client, but the appeal writing stage and then submission of the appeal door to door was a 72-hour window. So we were able to get this fixed within 3 days. Sometimes it's 2 days and sometimes it's a week. But we learned some key lessons in terms of some scenarios you have to escalate early, not just throwing whatever you can at the wall to see what sticks, but to get at answers that you can't access as a seller or brand owner, so that you'd never get nuance or complex review of it by submitting a generic, regular old brand registry ticket. Of course, that results in a copy and paste response from those teams. Of course, you get standard support answers when those teams are limited in terms of their breadth of knowledge and their training. You have to come at these types of problems at a high level. One reason one brand or one black hat entity will attack a brand owner like the one we were working with, one reason that happens at all is because they expect you to be confused. They expect you to be back on your heels and struggling to understand what's happening. They expect Amazon lower tier teams that you go to first to be unable to diagnose what's happening, be unable to guide you, unable to help you. They expect you to not understand what an escalation email is and where it goes. they're expecting you to be ignorant of these things, and they expect you to cost yourself time and money and to be floundering around looking for a solution, because that's getting them more cash. They're able to sell more of their product. Presumably it's a competitor, same type of product in your category. They're doing it to hurt you because hurting you means more revenue for them. So they're expecting you to fail. I would say batten down the hatches, have a strategy ready to go for a situation like this. If what I'm describing is foreign to you, then maybe you've had something similar, a random ASIN takedown. It wasn't a technical issue. It wasn't an Amazon mistake. It really was somebody messing with your back end or trying to insert keywords into some listing in a regional marketplace that you didn't even sell in, that you didn't know you had. It could be a parallel situation and you're not even really aware of it. So don't make assumptions. Get a professional grade, high level review of what's going on. And if it comes to escalating it via email, your primary email on the account, and submitting that so that you can get some research going and get some ideas on what's going wrong, please do that right the first time or the second time. Don't just guess and write random emails to Jeff and expect executive seller relations or account health reps or whoever you're emailing and calling today to understand it right out of the gate, because the odds of that happening are unlikely if there's any nuance, any complexity to the problem. Questions on anything I've said in this video, or you've got a parallel example you want to show us, feel free to mention it in the comments or to reach out to us at e-commerce Chris, because this is going to become the norm and not outlier edge case material as things get tighter and people chase more revenue on Amazon any way they can see. So let me know. And thanks again for listening in.